Imagine waking up one day and realizing that, despite all your hard work, you're still living paycheck to paycheck. You've hustled, invested in opportunities, and made sacrifices, but financial freedom seems just out of reach. What if I told you that the problem isn't how much you earn or how hard you work, but the habits you practice every single day? Today, we're going to explore 7 money habits that make you rich slowly. These are not get-rich-quick schemes. They are subtle, almost invisible behaviors that, when done consistently, compound over time to create lasting wealth. By the end of this talk, you'll understand why slowing down might be the fastest way to financial independence, and why the choices you make today define your financial future. Riches aren't built overnight, and yet in today's world, we are constantly bombarded with messages that suggest otherwise. Every day, advertisements, social media, and even our friends and family tell us that we need what's new, what's flashy, what's instant. A new phone, a new car, the latest fashion trend, all these things are sold to us as markers of success, as if having them defines who we are and how well we are doing in life. The problem is that this constant desire for instant gratification, this habit of impulsively spending before we save, slowly erodes our ability to create lasting wealth. The first habit of people who build wealth slowly, steadily, and sustainably is understanding the power of patience over impulse. It's the simple yet profound act of delaying gratification. It's learning to resist the temptation of instant pleasure in favor of long-term security, freedom, and growth. When we talk about patience, we aren't talking about passively waiting for good things to happen. We are talking about actively making choices that prioritize the future over the immediate moment. Every dollar you choose to save instead of spend is not just money withheld, it is a seed planted. A seed that with time, attention, and consistency can grow into something far greater than you might imagine. Most people fail to understand this because our brains are wired to seek immediate rewards. It feels good to buy something now. The dopamine rush of owning something new is powerful, but it is fleeting. It disappears in moments, leaving behind nothing but an empty space and perhaps a lighter wallet. The wealthy, on the other hand, understand the invisible power of compounding, not just in finance, but in life. They recognize that the satisfaction of delayed gratification multiplies over time, creating outcomes that are far more rewarding than anything a momentary impulse can provide. Think about the decisions you make on a daily basis. How often do you reach for your wallet because something caught your eye or because you felt a twinge of envy or excitement? How often do you choose what's convenient rather than what's strategic? These small, seemingly insignificant choices add up. The person who buys a coffee every morning from a fancy cafe may not realize that in 10 years, that habit could amount to thousands of dollars spent on fleeting pleasure. The person who invests that money or simply saves it allows time to transform those small amounts into significant wealth. Patience is not passive, it is an active strategy. It is the understanding that every small, disciplined decision compounds over time, just as every impulsive decision erodes your potential. Mastering patience requires awareness. It requires understanding your triggers for impulse spending. Many of us spend to fill emotional gaps, to alleviate stress, boredom, or insecurity. These purchases might bring momentary comfort, but they rarely bring long-term satisfaction. Learning to pause, reflect, and ask yourself whether a purchase aligns with your long-term goals is a skill that the wealthy practice unconsciously. They understand that wealth is not about what you acquire in the moment, but what you preserve, grow, and invest for the future. Each time you resist the urge to spend on something trivial, you are strengthening your ability to create compounding value in your life. You are giving your money the opportunity to work for you, instead of working for things that vanish the moment they are used. Patience also teaches us the value of delayed results. Many people want to see immediate returns on their investments, both financial and personal. They want to know that the time, effort, and money they are putting in today will pay off tomorrow. This expectation of instant gratification is what leads many to make rash decisions, to sell investments too early, to abandon a long-term plan, to pursue fads rather than strategies built for the long run. But the truth is, the most significant wealth, whether financial, professional, or personal, is rarely the result of a single decision. It is the outcome of 1,000 small, patient decisions made consistently over time. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They plant seeds today, water them daily with disciplined effort, and give them the time and space to grow. They understand that time, patience, and consistency are far more powerful than speed, impulsivity, and instant results. The power of patience over impulse is not limited to money alone. It extends to mindset, relationships, and career. When you learn to wait, to observe, and to act thoughtfully rather than reactively, you create space for better opportunities, smarter investments, and deeper understanding. You stop making decisions out of fear, desire, or urgency. You start making decisions out of strategy, vision, and foresight. Each small choice to save instead of spend, to invest instead of splurge, to prepare instead of panic compounds over time into significant advantages. The wealthy often appear as though they have been lucky or gifted with extraordinary insight, but in reality, they have simply mastered the art of patience and resisted the impulses that trap others in cycles of financial frustration. It is also critical to recognize that patience is not about deprivation. It is not about denying yourself joy or the pleasures of life. Instead, it is about prioritization. It is about understanding that the things that bring true wealth are not bought in stores or advertised in commercials. They are created in the quiet moments when you choose the long term over the short term. They are created when you invest in your skills, your education, your relationships, and your future self. When you consistently prioritize these things, your money begins to work for you in ways that instant gratification never could. Each dollar saved becomes a tool, a vehicle, and a foundation for growth. Each investment becomes a building block toward freedom, security, and opportunity. Consider the stories of those who built wealth slowly. They did not make headlines with flashy purchases or risky gambles. They made small, deliberate choices day after day, month after month, and year after year. They understood that the road to financial freedom is not a sprint, but a marathon. They understood that each decision to wait to save and to invest, even when the immediate world encouraged them to spend, was a step toward a life defined by choice rather than necessity. They understood that by delaying gratification, they were not losing anything, they were gaining everything. To master patience over impulses, to reclaim control over your financial destiny, it is to recognize that wealth is not measured by the purchases you make today, but by the freedom and security you create for tomorrow. Every dollar you save, every decision to resist temptation, and every investment you make compounds over time into something far greater than the sum of its parts. It is not flashy. It is not glamorous. It does not give instant pleasure, but it works steadily, quietly, and reliably. And that is why the people who master patience over impulse are the ones who eventually live lives of true financial freedom, independence, and abundance. Patience is the soil in which wealth grows. Impulse is the fire that destroys it. Each day you practice restraint. Each day you prioritize long-term gain over short-term satisfaction. You plant a seed for the future. You may not see the results immediately, but if you are consistent, if you are disciplined, and if you are intentional, the returns will come not just in money, but in freedom, opportunities, and peace of mind. Wealth is not about luck. It is about choices, and the most important choice is whether you will act with patience or surrender to impulse. Master patience, and you will discover that riches, while slow to arrive with a power and permanence that no fleeting pleasure can ever match. When we talk about building wealth, many people imagine a sudden breakthrough, a single massive paycheck, a windfall from a lucky investment, or an instant career opportunity that changes everything overnight. We imagine moments of intensity, moments when everything seems to click and success arrives in a dramatic, visible way. But the reality is that true wealth is rarely the result of intensity. It is almost never the result of sudden spectacular moves. Instead, wealth is the product of consistency, the habit of showing up day after day, making small, deliberate decisions that compound over time. Consistency beats intensity, and this principle is what separates those who build lasting financial security from those who chase fleeting success. Think about it. One massive paycheck might feel like freedom in the moment, but if it is spent impulsively, wasted, or mismanaged, it disappears as quickly as it came. Intense efforts, such as working long hours for a short-term gain or making a risky investment, can produce results temporarily, but they rarely sustain wealth in the long run. On the other hand, the person who consistently sets aside a portion of their income, invests steadily, and makes deliberate choices about spending and saving builds momentum over time. Small, consistent actions, almost invisible in the moment, eventually create an unstoppable force that propels financial growth. Consistency is powerful because it leverages the principle of compounding. Money grows not only from the initial amount saved or invested, but also from the cumulative effect of regular, repeated contributions. Imagine putting aside just a small portion of your income every month. It might not seem like much at first. Perhaps it feels like pennies in the ocean, insignificant and almost irrelevant. But over time, as interest accrues, investments grow, and disciplined habits multiply, the results become extraordinary. The wealth built through consistency is steady, resilient, and far more enduring than wealth built on occasional bursts of intensity. It is also important to recognize that consistency is a mindset, not a strategy you adopt once. Consistency requires discipline, patience, and foresight. It requires understanding that the most important financial victories are invisible at first. You may not feel the impact of saving a small amount today, and you may not see the results of your consistent investments immediately. But every time you follow through, every time you make a deliberate choice to stick to your plan, you are reinforcing a habit that compounds in power over time. This is the hidden secret that the wealthy understand intuitively. It is not the extraordinary moments that create lasting success. It is the ordinary, repeated actions performed consistently, even when no one is watching. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because they are drawn to stories of instant success. They see headlines about entrepreneurs who turned a single idea into millions overnight, or they hear about lottery winners and assume that wealth is the result of luck. But these stories are exceptions, not rules. The reality is that the vast majority of people who achieve lasting financial security do so through steady, disciplined effort over years and even decades. They save when it feels inconvenient. They invest when it seems slow. They continue building even when the results are not immediately visible. They understand that the slow, consistent path, while less glamorous, is far more reliable. Consistency also provides structure and predictability in a world that is often chaotic and uncertain. Life is full of unexpected events, financial emergencies, and market fluctuations. One-time bursts of intensity cannot protect you from these challenges. Consistency, however, builds a foundation of security. By regularly saving and investing, you create a buffer that allows you to weather storms without panic. By committing to small daily financial habits, you establish a framework that becomes automatic, removing the stress of constant decision-making. The power of consistency is that it transforms financial discipline from a task into a way of life, one that continues to work for you quietly and visibly, but relentlessly. Consider the way consistent actions affect behavior beyond money. Just as in fitness or learning a new skill, repeated small actions lead to exponential improvement over time. Reading a few pages every day leads to more knowledge than reading sporadically in intense bursts. Exercising consistently, even for short periods, builds long-term strength more effectively than occasional extreme workouts. The same principle applies to money. Regular small investments, careful budgeting, and deliberate financial planning create cumulative results that far exceed what sporadic efforts could achieve. The key is to build momentum, to make small, consistent contributions to your future every single day. Consistency also creates confidence. When you know that you have a system, a habit, and a rhythm, you are more likely to make sound financial decisions. You no longer need to rely on luck, chance, or intuition alone. Your habits create a self-reinforcing cycle. The more consistent you are, the more control you feel, and the more empowered you become to make additional smart choices. This is why wealth built through consistency is so much more resilient. It is rooted not in temporary wins or high-risk bets, but in the reliable, repeatable actions that form the backbone of financial stability. It's also worth noting that consistency does not mean avoiding risk or never taking bold actions. It means understanding that bold moves alone are not sustainable. They must be paired with steady, persistent habits that ensure long-term growth. The person who consistently saves, invests, and plans has the freedom to take calculated risks when the right opportunity arises, knowing that their foundation is solid. Consistency provides both security and flexibility, allowing you to navigate life's challenges with confidence and clarity. To embrace consistency is to embrace the long perspective. It requires patience, resilience, and the understanding that wealth is not a series of spectacular events, but the accumulation of small, thoughtful decisions over time. Each paycheck saved, each investment made, each expense controlled adds to a compounding effect that eventually becomes visible in ways that seem almost magical. What once seemed like tiny, inconsequential actions now manifests as security, choice, and freedom. The people who understand this principle live with a quiet power. They are not swayed by trends, peer pressure, or the lure of instant gratification. They understand that consistent, deliberate effort, repeated over months and years, produces results far beyond what occasional intensity ever could. They know that the key to building wealth is not to chase flashy wins, but to build a reliable system that works quietly, steadily, and predictably over time. They understand that consistency is not just a habit. It is the foundation of financial freedom, the secret to creating momentum that grows unstoppable with time. Every time you act consistently, you reinforce a mindset that values preparation over luck, diligence over impulse, and patience over urgency. This is the habit that creates slow, sustainable, and resilient wealth. It may not feel glamorous, it may not produce instant results, but over time, consistency becomes unstoppable. It compounds quietly, reliably, and powerfully, eventually producing outcomes that feel almost magical to those who did not understand the power of showing up every day, even in small ways. Consistency beats intensity because it transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. It turns the mundane into momentum. It transforms patience into progress. By committing to consistent, deliberate financial habits, you give yourself the power to shape your future in ways that no one-time windfall or spectacular event ever could. It is not the intensity of effort that builds wealth. It is the commitment to showing up again and again, doing the right things and trusting the process. When you embrace consistency, you embrace the slow, steady path to financial freedom, a path that ultimately outperforms every flashy shortcut, every impulsive decision, and every fleeting windfall. At first glance, the idea of spending less than you earn might seem obvious. It's one of those concepts that people nod at, that we all think we understand, but when it comes to actually living by it, very few do. And yet, this simple principle, spending less than you earn, is one of the most powerful habits that separates those who achieve lasting wealth from those who live paycheck to paycheck. It sounds simple, almost trivial, but the reality is that it is the foundation upon which all financial freedom is built. Without it, no investment strategy, no financial plan, and no high-paying career can create lasting security or abundance. The problem is that most people confuse spending less with deprivation. They think that to spend less than you earn, you must give up joy, fun, or comfort. They imagine a life of austerity where every dollar is rationed and happiness is postponed indefinitely. But the truth is quite the opposite. Spending less than you earn is not about sacrifice, it is about freedom. It is about reclaiming control over your life and your choices. When you spend below your means, you're not denying yourself, you are investing in the ability to choose, the power to act, and the security to navigate life without fear. It is not a limitation, it is empowerment. Living below your means require awareness, and that awareness begins with understanding your income versus your expenses. Most people fail to build wealth not because they don't earn enough, but because they live as if they will always earn more. They adjust their lifestyle to match the latest paycheck, increasing spending in proportion to income without ever considering the long-term implications. This is what keeps many people trapped in cycles of financial stress, no matter how much they earn. The wealthy, in contrast, understand that true financial power comes from creating a gap between income and spending. That gap is where freedom lives. That gap is where control resides. When you spend less than you earn, you gain control over your finances and over your life. Debt, stress, and uncertainty shrink. You are no longer living at the mercy of bills, unexpected expenses, or market fluctuations. You have the ability to make choices that align with your values, not just your obligations. Every dollar saved becomes a tool, a lever, and a stepping stone toward opportunity. You can invest in education, in assets, in experiences that enrich your life rather than deplete it. You can build a buffer that protects you from the inevitable uncertainties of life, giving you confidence and peace of mind. The habit of spending less than you earn also teaches discipline. Discipline is not something we are born with. It is a muscle that strengthens with practice. Every time you choose to save rather than splurge, every time you resist the temptation of instant gratification, you reinforce your ability to make deliberate choices. This habit of conscious decision-making extends beyond finances. It shapes how you approach work, relationships, and personal growth. The simple act of spending less than you earn is, in essence, a training ground for all other areas of life where restraint, focus, and vision are required. Another aspect to understand is the compounding effect of living below your means. The small difference between what you earn and what you spend may seem insignificant day to day, but over time it becomes enormous. A few $100s saved each month can grow into tens of thousands over a decade, especially when invested wisely. Living below your means creates not just security, but opportunity. It allows you to invest in stocks, businesses, or personal growth. It allows you to take risks strategically, knowing that you have a safety net. Wealth is rarely created through extravagance. It is created through the patient accumulation of resources, and that accumulation starts with spending less than you earn. Consider the way this habit impacts your mindset. People who constantly spend at the limit of their income are often anxious, reactive, and trapped in a cycle of scarcity. They measure life in terms of what they do not have, and they feel pressure to keep up with everyone around them. In contrast, those who live below their means think differently. They measure life in terms of freedom, choice, and potential. They are proactive rather than reactive. They understand that wealth is not about impressing others or chasing status. It is about building a foundation of stability, security, and opportunity. Living below your means also requires creativity and intentionality. It asks you to evaluate what truly matters, to distinguish between wants and needs, and to align spending with values rather than impulses. This is a mindset shift. It is a shift from consumption to investment, not just of money, but of attention, energy, and time. Every decision to spend less becomes a conscious choice to prioritize the long term over the immediate. You begin to see money not as something to consume, but as a tool to create the life you want, the life of freedom and opportunity that many only dream about. Debt is a powerful enemy to spending below your means. Many people earn well but never get ahead because they are trapped by credit cards, loans, and obligations that siphon away their income before it can work for them. Living below your means breaks that cycle. By spending less than you earn, you can pay down debt, avoid accumulating new liabilities, and create a surplus that works for you instead of against you. Debt often gives the illusion of lifestyle freedom, but it is a trap. Spending less than you earn is the key to breaking free from that trap, giving you the ability to make decisions on your own terms rather than under the weight of obligation. This habit also separates the wealthy from the rest over time. While earning potential is important, the ability to manage resources is even more critical. Two people can make the same income, yet one may be financially free while the other struggles. The difference lies in habits, choices, and discipline. The person who lives below their means builds wealth gradually, steadily, and reliably. They understand that life is a marathon, not a sprint. They understand that the power of compounding, the security of savings, and the opportunities created by surplus funds are far more valuable than temporary pleasure purchased with instant gratification. Spending less than you earn is a statement of intent. It signals that you value control, that you value freedom, and that you value the future over the immediate. It is not a restriction, it is a declaration of independence from the endless cycle of consumerism, comparison, and financial stress. Every time you choose to prioritize savings, investments, and strategic spending, you reinforce your ability to shape your own destiny. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are actively designing a life of choice, security, and potential. Ultimately, the habit of living below your means is a profound lesson in mindset. It teaches patience, discipline, foresight, and self-respect. It creates a foundation upon which all other financial habits, saving, investing, and wealth building, can thrive. It is the single most important habit for creating slow, steady, and sustainable financial freedom. Those who embrace this principle understand that wealth is not about how much you earn, but about how much you keep, how wisely you manage it, and how consistently you apply the simple, powerful habit of spending less than you earn. Habits stick when they are automatic. The most powerful behaviors, the ones that shape our lives in profound ways, are not those we remember to do once in a while. They are the ones we do without thinking, the ones that become part of the fabric of our daily lives. The fourth habit of building slow, steady, and lasting wealth is automation. Automation is not about removing your awareness or giving up control. It is about creating systems that allow your intentions to act without constant oversight. It is about building a structure in which your money, your investments, and your obligations move with purpose, reliably and predictably, without the daily struggle of decision fatigue, temptation, or error. Most people think of money management as a constant, exhausting activity. They imagine checking balances, calculating spending, reviewing bills, and tracking investments daily. And many of us fail at financial consistency not because we lack intelligence or discipline, but because life is busy, distracting, and full of competing priorities. Every day, the human mind is bombarded with decisions, and each decision requires attention, energy, and focus. It's easy to postpone saving, to delay investing, to put off paying bills, or to spend impulsively because making thoughtful financial choices in the moment is exhausting. This is where automation becomes a superpower. By automating the movement of your money, you remove the friction, reduce the temptation, and eliminate the human errors that often prevent consistent wealth building habits. Automation starts with the basic saving. Imagine a system in which a portion of your income is automatically transferred to a savings account the moment your paycheck arrives. You do not have to think about it. You do not have to will yourself into action. It happens every month. Without fail, their savings grow. This is a small step, but over time it becomes enormous. The beauty of automation is that it turns intention into action without relying on daily willpower, which is limited and often depleted by other demands in life. When saving becomes automatic, you no longer need to negotiate with yourself about whether to spend or save. You simply follow a system that works quietly and reliably. Investments, too, benefit tremendously from automation. Rather than trying to time the market, to guess which stock will rise, or to remember to make contributions sporadically, automated investments allow you to contribute consistently over time. Whether it's a retirement account, a mutual fund, or an index fund, setting up regular automatic contributions ensures that your money grows steadily. This approach removes the emotional roller coaster of investing decisions, which is one of the main reasons many people fail to build wealth through the markets. Automation transforms investing from an unpredictable, stressful activity into a reliable, consistent process that works in your favor quietly and steadily over decades. Bill payments, often seen as mundane and tedious, are another area where automation can create freedom and prevent mistakes. Late fees, missed payments, and financial stress from administrative errors can drain both money and energy. By automating bill payments, you remove the risk of human error and ensure that your obligations are met on time, every time. This is not about mindlessly allowing money to flow. It is about intentionally designing a system where your commitments are fulfilled without constant effort or worry. In doing so, you free mental space to focus on strategy, growth, and opportunities rather than the stress of day-to-day management. Automation also protects against temptation. One of the most common reasons people fail to save or invest is that the money is available to spend, and the lure of instant gratification is strong. The human brain responds to immediate rewards far more powerfully than to distant ones, which is why impulse purchases are so common. Automation allows you to bypass this psychological trap. By moving money automatically into savings or investments before you have the opportunity to spend it, you remove the possibility of succumbing to temptation. This creates a silent, powerful discipline that grows your wealth without requiring conscious effort every single day. The power of automation extends beyond the practical mechanics of money. It shapes mindset. When you create systems that work for you, you cultivate trust in your ability to manage your finances wisely. You no longer live in a state of constant reaction, wondering if you remember to save, invest, or pay a bill. Instead, you operate from a position of control and confidence. This mindset, built through automated habits, allows you to think strategically, make better decisions, and focus your energy on growth, opportunity, and creating additional streams of income. Automation is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of structure, the architecture of deliberate freedom. Consider the long-term effects of automated financial habits. A small, consistent contribution to savings, investments, and debt repayment, compounded over years and decades, grows exponentially. What may feel insignificant today, the $50, $100, or $200 a month, can become tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars over time, purely through the power of consistency enhanced by automation. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They do not rely on willpower or sporadic bursts of effort. They rely on systems, routines, and habits that act automatically to build momentum in their favor. Over time, this momentum becomes unstoppable. Automation also creates resilience. Life is unpredictable, and financial challenges will inevitably arise. Without automated systems, a missed paycheck, an unexpected expense, or a temporary lapse in attention can have disproportionate consequences. With automation, your financial life has a structure that continues to function even when life becomes chaotic. Your savings grow, your investments accumulate, and your obligations are met regardless of temporary distractions or emergencies. This structure creates not only wealth but also peace of mind, a sense that no matter what happens, your foundation is secure. Finally, automation allows you to focus on what truly matters. When you no longer have to micromanage your money, you have more energy to focus on growth, both financial and personal. You can explore opportunities, invest in skills, cultivate relationships, and pursue passions. Automation is not just a tool for managing money. It is a tool for managing life. It shifts the focus from constant maintenance to strategic growth, from reaction to creation, from stress to empowerment. It turns mundane financial tasks into invisible engines of progress, quietly powering your journey towards slow, lasting wealth. The ultimate power of automation lies in its ability to make good habits inevitable. When saving, investing, and paying bills are built into a system, success becomes the default. You do not need to negotiate with yourself to muster motivation or to fight temptation. Your system works silently, consistently, and reliably, ensuring that your financial goals are always being advanced. This is the secret that separates those who slowly build enduring wealth from those who struggle despite good intentions. Automation is not just convenience, it is the backbone of discipline, deliberate, and sustainable wealth building. By automating your financial life, you create momentum, reduce friction, eliminate error, and cultivate a mindset of control and confidence. You turn intentions into actions, actions into habits, and habits into compounding results that grow quietly but powerfully over time. It is a habit that transforms the way you interact with money, ensuring that wealth is not dependent on willpower, luck, or momentary focus, but on the steady, deliberate movement of resources toward the life you want. Automation is not just a habit, it is a strategy for freedom, security, and long-term prosperity. In our society, it is easy to confuse wealth with status. Everywhere we look, we are bombarded with images, advertisements, and messages that suggest that success is measured by what you own, the size of your house, the model of your car, the brand of your watch, or the number of followers you have on social media. Many people chase these symbols of wealth, believing that acquiring them will make them rich, happy, or respected. They work tirelessly to buy things that signal their success, hoping that the perception of wealth will eventually translate into real security or freedom. But the truth is, slow and sustainable wealth grows not from chasing status, but from focusing on value. Value is what truly enriches your life, while status is what impresses others. Status is fleeting, it is external and often dependent on comparison. It is influenced by trends, social expectations, and the judgments of others. Value, on the other hand, is internal, enduring, and personal. It is about the quality of your investments, both financial and personal, the experiences that shape you, the skills you develop, and the freedom you create to make choices on your own terms. Those who focus on value over status understand that wealth is not about what others think, but about what you can do with your resources to improve your life and the lives of those you care about. Consider how status-oriented spending can be a trap. When you purchase items to impress others, to keep up with peers, or to maintain appearances, you are often sacrificing your long-term financial goals for temporary approval. The new car, the designer bag, the extravagant vacation, these may signal wealth outwardly, but they do not create wealth inwardly. They do not build financial security, independence, or resilience. They are expenses, not investments. They may make you feel accomplished for a moment, but the feeling fades quickly, and soon you are seeking the next status symbol to fill the gap. This cycle can be exhausting, expensive, and ultimately unfulfilling. Value, in contrast, is intentional. It requires thoughtfulness and awareness. It requires asking a simple but powerful question before every financial decision. Does this add meaningful value to my life? Value can take many forms. It might be investing in education that enhances your skills and career potential. It might be purchasing tools, books, or resources that help you grow intellectually, emotionally, or professionally. It might be investing in relationships that bring support, love, and joy rather than social approval. Value is anything that creates long-term benefits, opportunities, and freedom rather than transient validation. When you focus on value, your spending and investment habits align with your goals. Each dollar is directed towards something that increases your capacity, independence, and well-being. Instead of seeking external recognition, you seek internal growth. You build skills that compound over time, assets that appreciate in value, and experiences that shape who you are. You stop worrying about the opinions of others and start prioritizing the life you truly want to live. This mindset shift transforms your relationship with money from one of anxiety, comparison, and obligation to one of empowerment, strategy, and purpose. Focusing on value also encourages delayed gratification. Unlike status, which often requires instant acquisition to maintain appearances, value is something that grows over time. A skill learned, an investment nurtured, and a relationship cultivated cannot be rushed. These forms of wealth accumulate slowly, quietly, and steadily, yet they become far more impactful than the flashy signs of status that fade as quickly as they appear. Those who focus on value understand that patience is necessary and that true wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. They measure success not by the applause of others, but by the progress and freedom they create for themselves. This principle also fosters resilience. When you are focused on value, you are less vulnerable to societal pressures and economic fluctuations. You do not need to compare yourself to neighbors, colleagues, or influencers on social media. Your sense of wealth is internal and self-determined. This protects you from making impulsive, high-risk, or status-driven financial decisions that can derail long-term growth. Value-oriented wealth is steady and intentional because it is rooted in strategy, purpose, and independence rather than fleeting external validation. Consider the choices that distinguish the wealthy from the merely affluent. Many high earners who live paycheck to paycheck are trapped in a cycle of status-driven consumption. They appear wealthy, but they are financially fragile. The truly wealthy, on the other hand, often live modestly relative to their means. They drive cars that serve their purpose rather than impress others. They live in homes that provide comfort and security rather than prestige. They invest in experiences, education, and assets that increase in value over time. Their wealth is invisible to the outside world, yet it is durable, abundant, and empowering. Focusing on value over status also encourages generosity and impact. When you are not preoccupied with signaling success, you have the freedom to contribute meaningfully to others. You can invest in causes, support loved ones, or create opportunities that have long-term significance. This form of wealth, impact-driven, purpose-driven, and relational, cannot be measured in dollars alone, yet it is among the most rewarding and sustainable forms of wealth available. It compounds just as financial investments do, creating networks, trust, and influence that last far longer than any luxury item. The habit of focusing on value requires mindfulness and intentionality. It asks you to examine your motivations before every purchase or investment. Are you buying this to impress someone else? Or are you buying it because it serves your long-term goals and enriches your life? Are you seeking approval, or are you creating freedom? Are you consuming to feel worthy, or are you investing to grow your capacity, security, and independence? This level of self-awareness transforms the way you interact with money, turning every financial decision into an opportunity to build meaningful, enduring wealth rather than temporary recognition. This principle also extends beyond money. In life, we are constantly faced with choices between superficial appearances and substantive value. Relationships, work, education, and personal development all offer similar trade-offs. Choosing value over status means investing in things that truly improve your life, that create resilience, independence, and fulfillment. It means prioritizing depth over breadth, quality over quantity, and substance over show. This mindset shapes not only financial success, but holistic life success. Ultimately, focusing on value over status is a powerful habit because it aligns resources with purpose. It transforms money from a tool for external validation into a tool for internal growth, security, and freedom. It separates slow, sustainable wealth builders from those who chase fleeting appearances. It cultivates patience, discipline, and intentionality. It allows you to live a life where financial decisions are strategic, opportunities are seized, and wealth is compounded steadily and quietly over time. True wealth is not measured by what you show to the world, but by the freedom, security, and choice you create for yourself. When you make value your guide, you gain clarity, control, and confidence. Every investment, every